Yeah. Speaking of terrorist propaganda, Rutgers professor says he packed up his family and left the U.S. due to death threats.
I'm a historian of fascism, and I understand that the way that authoritarian movements grow is by coming up with a boogeyman term like Antifa.
Rutgers University history professor and author Mark Bray says his life and his views came under attack in recent weeks.
It really started after Trump's executive order declaring Antifa a quote-unquote terrorist organization.
We have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa.
Bray says the executive order turned him into a target.
The pace of the death threats accelerated after the Fox News article about the Turning Point petition to have me fired.
This month, the Rutgers Turning Point USA chapter, a political group founded by Charlie Kirk, launched this petition seeking to remove the quote Antifa-aligned professor to protect conservative students from political violence rhetoric. A call to action, Bray says, fueled threats and put his family's safety at risk.
The first one that said they were going to kill me in front of my students.
Bray says he alerted the university, filed a police report, and left the U.S. this week to protect his family.
I landed in Spain this morning after a very mysterious and, in my opinion, fishy cancellation of my flight on Wednesday.
The president of Rutgers Turning Point USA chapter says they condemn any threats of violence, but stand by their call to remove Professor Bray.
You know, Mark Bray's a coward, fundamentally. He thought he could hide behind his books. He thought he could hide behind his degree and radicalize kids from the safety of his classroom.
Rutgers University released a statement.
Dude, this is his job. His job is to teach about fascism. By the way, once again, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're not part of the team, buddy. Yeah, except, what did I tell you? Modern fascism doesn't work that way. Modern fascism is way more diverse. Everything in the United States of America has been hit with the DEI ray. Okay? That's it. This has all the components. This is all the fucking components. It's anti-intellectualist. It's aggressively. It's behaving in this like incredibly militant fashion towards singled out targets that they see as the fucking enemy. And they are the enemy because they are educating people on the way fascism works.
Reading in part, Rutgers is committed to upholding the rights of students and faculty to free speech and academic freedom as fundamental to our community. Some students here say the threats have gone too far.
I think it's kind of embarrassing that people are treating somebody like this just for their own opinions. It's kind of crazy and it's scary.
Bray says his classes will now be taught virtually. In New Brunswick, Addie Guajardo, CBS News, New York.
All right, let's bring in Lara Trump, host.
Jimmy Kimmel blasted for a claim on Antifa. I don't know what he's talking about. It's so funny. This is my favorite type of news making, as you guys know, is my pet peeve, which is first you blast the person and then you do additional coverage on how everyone is blasting this person. It's like, no, it's you. You're the one who's doing the blasting. The fuck do you mean everyone is everyone's really mad at Jimmy Kimmel for his Antifa statement? It's like, no, it's just you. And now you're trying to continue the fucking conversation by claiming, oh, wow, everyone is really mad. Tom Emmer said that the No Kings protest next week was going to be a terrorist event, and Mike Johnson said it was a Hamas rally. Terrorist just means valid target to the United States government. It's scary stuff how comfortable they are throwing that term around. Yep.
Of My View with Lara Trump. Good to see you, Lara. I'll have you react to Alexis's reporting on what's happening in Rutgers University. What I find interesting is that this professor, writes this entire book about Antifa. He says, I'm not part of Antifa, but I just, I teach about it. And then you have somebody like Jimmy Kimmel who says, there is no Antifa. I want you to listen to this sound clip from Kimmel.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa. This is no different than if they announced they rounded up a dozen Decepticons. We've captured the Chupacabra, everyone.
Okay, so what's happening here?
Well, there is Antifa. This White House classified them as a domestic terrorist organization, which they are.
This is, I said this the first day, bro. Like, because there is no, like, real organization that is, like, Antifa, with the exception of, like, I don't know, like, Rose City Antifa or whatever the fuck, right? Like, that's not, it's just, like, there is no, like, actual defined organization that you are targeting. Anyone and everyone can be considered Antifa. And the administration has obviously made that very clear. Terrorism already is an intentionally vague definition, and it is utilized to take away people's due process and their rights and their liberties and prosecute them and maybe even kill them, right? Without any sort of pushback. And for that reason, because it completely contradicts the First Amendment in the United States of America, it has never been applied domestically. There have been times where the First Amendment has been violated. Obviously, America is rabidly anti-communist, and there have been different ways in which America has violated any sort of like discontent, any sort of dissent, or people that are engaging in any sort of dissent. Having said that, I don't think it's ever been... Dude, calm down, dude. What the fuck? Please, no Fox News, dog. It hurts my brain. Please, man. Antifa is also vague by definition, by design, in the same way that terrorism is a vague standard to apply, a vague term to apply to whoever the fuck you want to extrajudicially kill or apprehend. Okay? This is very dangerous. And the reason why it's very dangerous is because anything and everything can be considered anti-fascist in nature. And that's precisely the reason why Trump didn't just talk about like all of the little radicals in Black Bloc or whatever the fuck. And instead, immediately started talking about George Soros, Act Blue, and all of the payment processes that the Democrats use. And when expanded on the definition, of what it means to be Antifa, which is once again a decentralized movement. Therefore, everyone from your grandparents who fought the Nazis in World War II down to you telling a racist that they're being fucking racist, those are all acts of anti-fascism, no matter how little or no matter how organized they may be. Okay? This is precisely the reason why the administration can use this vague standard and apply it to everyone and anyone, including former Trump voters if they choose to, and claim that any kind of discontent is Antifa and must be stamped out.
They use violence to intimidate ICE officers, people they disagree with, push back on law enforcement, and try to stop anything, that's the way of life in this country as we know it, that they disagree with. And that's not the way things should be done. So Antifa absolutely exists. I don't know what Jimmy Kimmel's talking about there. This professor, I thought it was funny. He said, I don't subscribe to it. I just study it. I just teach it. I mean, I think it's a little outrageous. And I think he's probably upset, Aisha, that he's been exposed for what he is, and he's been exposed by a lot of these, individuals with Turning Point. I am very happy to see that we have people on campus now who are able to express themselves. For so long it felt like that it was just an indoctrination factory, and that's exactly what a professor like this very clearly is doing to so much of our youth out there. But now you have these individuals in Turning Point, starting new chapters across this country, making sure that they're unafraid in the way.
I will say, this is definitely an incredibly worrisome development. But this is, I think, one aspect. This is, especially if the Democrats and everybody else, like even the normies who don't really give a fuck about politics, I suspect they will mobilize against this. And I also think that the courts will hold the First Amendment, because if they don't, it's over. There's two key things in the Constitution. I mean, there's many good things in the Constitution, but there's two key aspects of the Constitution that are supposed to limit the control of the government. And no, I'm not talking about the Second Amendment, okay? No, I'm not. Due process and free speech. Those are the two key safeguards of American theoretical democracy. If those go away, I love when dummies will be like, oh, Second Amendment, dude. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Second Amendment is totally protecting everybody, dude. You're right. If due process goes away and free speech goes away, it's over. It's over. And I still think that the courts will protect those two key components as it stands. And I think that there will be a lot of mass mobilization and mass discontent if the administration tries to go after these two things. Regardless of whether or not there is a compliant media ecosystem that actually pushes people's attention elsewhere, I think people will still get mad. They'll get mad enough. What about the Third Amendment? The Third Amendment, consistently the most powerful one, okay? Nobody thinks about it. Nobody talks about it. There was a brief moment when people talked about it during the BLM protests. But it's the most goated one, okay? Third Amendment. The most powerful. Has the most motion. Third Amendment for stopping Kirsty Noem from using the restroom inside of government facilities. It's not even actually the Third Amendment that does that, but still. Fuck it. Let's chalk it up. Let's chalk it up to the Third Amendment.
They're speaking. We are 1 month out from that horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk. And man, would he be happy to see the way that these students have made their voices loud and made sure that they are unafraid in everything that they say. So look, we'll see what Rutgers decides to do. Interesting, the guy fled the country, though. Maybe that tells us a lot about him.
Maybe it does. I want to switch gears to what's happening in Chicago and this fight that's escalating between your father-in-law and the leadership there, the Democrats there. And it's getting more and more intense every single day, this fight.
This is like when my haters were like, this fucking pussy doesn't want to go to TwitchCon. I'll kill him if he goes. When I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go to TwitchCon because I don't want to like threaten the safety of others by being there. Okay? She's doing the same thing to this professor. He's like, yeah, that fucking pussy better not show his stupid ass face on American soil. Okay? If my father-in-law has something to do with it, what a coward. He escaped the country. He better not come back here. If he comes back here, I'll show him what's what. It's like, okay, well, you kind of proved why he had to flee the country, which is an insane thing to begin with. Like, what? Why is everyone becoming a school shooter? What the fuck is going on here?
President Trump said that he, wanted to see leaders in Chicago be put in jail because of this conflict. And then the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, said that he was going to do everything in his power to lead a resistance that is desperately needed to protect democracy and our human.
Who's Laura Trump's father-in-law? Laura Trump's father-in-law, think? Who could it be? Who could Laura Trump's father-in-law be? Could be anybody, really.